Apologies about 9:06. Had to kind of orchestrate some things and get some folks to understand what you're trying to do. Welcome to Monday. You know it's a Monday win. John, hear you there. Thanks for dropping by. And there's a lot to talk about this morning. And there's you got Atlanta United to talk about. You have our friends with the Copa to talk about. There's a lot to talk about with the Copa. You get the Euros to talk about, Atlanta United 2 to talk about, the weekend in Major League Soccer to talk about, all of the above, choice D. So it's whatever's on the table for you this morning. And like I said, it is wide open. It was a busy weekend on a bunch of different fronts for Atlanta United. The Twos had a big win last night. That was on the network. And that was a fun one to call because the second half was absolutely crazy. You had a goal in the 14th minute from Columbus Crew 2, who were at 500 so far at this point of the season, above 500. I think they were 6-5-5. So you had that with the Crew. Crew had a 1-0 lead. Then in the second half, Atlanta United comes back, a goal from Matias Gallardo, a goal from Dominic Chonqui for the second match in a row, and then an absolute just rocket. Pick your poison and however you wish to describe it. But it was a rocket. It was a laser. Ain't nothing stopping it. Christopher Pearson tied it at 2, and we end up going to PKs. Jaden Hibbert comes up big. Welcome back, Jaden Hibbert. And you end up with a 2-2 draw after 90, after 95. And then you go to PKs. Atlanta United 2 gets the extra point. So a 2-point night for Atlanta United 2 last night. There's stuff involving Atlanta United to talk about with their 1-0 loss to Montreal. But then you have 2 matches this week to get into with Atlanta United. You have the match in the midweek against NYCFC. And then after that, welcome to the opening of the secondary transfer window. And I don't know if you saw this, but there was a very, very interesting codicil that was put into play last week involving the Canadian clubs. And so, we'll keep an eye on that. We'll get into that this morning. So there's plenty to get into. So you've got Major League Soccer, anything else from Major League Soccer, the Euros, the Copa, the Twos, whatever's on your mind. It's an open thought Monday. So whatever's on your collective minds this morning, that's where we are. That's the beauty of what's going on. And traditionally, as the way that it works on Mondays, to be perfectly honest, I'm guessing this is one of the best multitasks ever in the history of multitasking. Because last time that Abe was on with us, he admitted that he's going to be spending time with his dad. We're going to talk about that because when you get the chance to go to ballparks and catch up with your dad and share that experience, that's cool. I mean, I'm guessing Abe had like multiple devices going on at the ballparks where he could catch up with what was going on with Atlanta United and anything else going on in the world. But no, it was it's very, very cool that Abe got to spend time with his dad. So we'll get into that. And you know what? It's a Monday. I'm not going to waste any time. I'm sure that he's properly hydrated, or at least is properly hydrating as a part of this process. And so we bring in the gentleman. So first and foremost, how was the trip with your dad?
The trip was good. We were in Houston, post Hurricane Beryl. So we saw a little bit of the downside of how that city was affected. But trip was pretty fun. Had some great food, saw some good baseball. And saw what Houston had to offer and a little bit of what the Sugarland Space Cowboys had to offer as well.
So did you get the gear, most importantly? Did you get your Space Cowboys gear?
Yeah, so there was a free jersey giveaway to the first 2,000. So half of us of the group left early. Well, we left on time. The other group left late. So half of us got the jersey giveaway. The other half did not. And we will forever hold it over the half that did not receive it. We'll hold it over their heads every baseball trip moving forward.
So, all right. So then now let me ask. I have to ask about the constitution, shall we say, of the jersey. Is it one of those polyester knockoffs? It's basically like just like a jersey t-shirt kind of
No,
thing?
it's a full on. I mean, it's not an authentic jersey, but it's buttoned down. It's the real deal. Yeah.
Okay. Because I mean, there are some times when you're part of a giveaway and you end up with like the pseudo, the jersey shirt, and it's polyester and it's like the bowling league stuff that you think of from like the Flintstones, and you wear it, and the first time you wear it out in the heat, it catches on fire and spontaneously combusts because it's a polyester blend, those kinds of things. I was concerned.
I mean, I'm a fan of the poly blend, doing as much working out and sweating as I do. So I like the quick dry type of stuff, but no, it looks like the real deal. I was worried it was going to be a t-shirt jersey as well, but no, it's got full on buttons and we're ready. It was Houston Day is what happened. It was 7/13. July 13th is Houston Day. So we also found a pizzeria that rolled back their prices to $7.13. So we took full advantage of the 7/13 there.
As you well should have. And obviously, the next important question is: did Sugarland win?
Sugarland. So they actually had a double header because the game had been rained out a couple of days prior. So we stayed for the first game. They did not win, but they did come back in the second game after we had left. So that's how that played. They split the doubleheader, so not too bad.
Okay. So how much multitasking were you able to do while you were getting jerseys and watching minor league baseball and major league baseball?
Yeah, quite a bit, to be honest. I watched the first half, and then I watched the goal for against Atlanta. So Montreal, once they went on to the scoreboard, I was like, all right, we're probably done here. And as it turned out, checking the stats after the fact, they were in fact done here. They, obviously you speak about the disappointment of not registering a shot on goal. And so it sounds like I didn't miss much by the time we got to the deli for dinner and I had to put the phone down. So yeah, look, once Theon, you had the combination of a couple of minutes here of goal gets scored a little bit on the other side of halftime, which is seemingly becoming an issue. Then Steon Gregerson picks up the red card. At that point, down a goal, down a man. I think you could probably start writing your post-game recaps at that point. And so, look, another frustrating result. And all I can say is you have to be patient with this Atlanta United club. It's not really about what they have right now. It's about what you hope they will have in a couple of weeks. And you just hope that the stretch that they're in right now doesn't cost you the opportunity to find a playoff spot. That's kind of where we're at with what we have on this team. And I think that's understandable. And I know it's frustrating. We as fans want to compete. We want to contend. It's tough to kind of explain the idea of trading away your best players, whether it's a good business decision or not. Trade, transfer, you guys know what I mean. But at this point, I'm just hoping they can hold on long enough to get some guys in here that can make a difference, and hopefully you can still be in the discussion to compete for a playoff spot. You fell all the way down to 11th, but you are only 3 points shy of 8th. I don't know how much higher you can climb, potentially Orlando in 7th. But Charlotte, NYCFC, Red Bulls, they're pretty good and clear of you at this stage. So right now it's kind of like it felt last year a little bit. Just get in, and if you have to play a 1 seed, if you have to play a 2 seed, on the road, then so be it. But just hold on is kind of where I'm at, and hope that the help that is brought in by Lagerwey and Boca can make the difference.
Well, and Garth Lagerwey, Doug Robertson of the AJC caught up with Garth last week about how the approach was going to be when it came to the 2 open DP slots. And quoting Garth, because you're dealing with $50 million is what you're staring at right now, because you've got the sales of Thiago and Gigi, the sell on possibly of Ezekiel Barco. No word on whether or not that's officially official yet. But the issue with that $11 million, and we got into that when this popped up, is that the club in question with Ezekiel Barco, Spartak Moscow. And right now in the global landscape, any relationship with anything Russia, you kind of have to go through the State Department and maybe even the Department of Defense to figure out what's going on there. So that's probably going to have to be tweaked. That $11 million in value might have to come out from a different way. And then you've got the sales of Luis Arujo, Marcelino Moreno, and maybe, I guess it's just still being reported about Caleb Wiley possibly going overseas. So you could be dealing with something in the neighborhood of, say, $40 to $50 million, $40 million plus less, $40 million plus a player, what have you. Garth says that's the most he thinks that any MLS club has received in a transfer window. And Carlos Bocanegra said they're talking about 15 different folks. And Garth has said we would prefer to have a player here for a longer period of time who's here because they're playing on an elite level and they want to be in Atlanta. They want to be playing in front of 47,000, part of Atlanta United. They're here because they live, breathe, sleep, die Atlanta United. So signing prime age players is where things are right now in the mind of Garth Lagerwey. So you're looking at the Seattle build where you're chasing after those players in their mid to late 20s that want to hang out in Atlanta for a while and be a part of a build of something. And so that's what Garth is looking at anyway from the article that came out from Doug Robertson of the AJC.
Yeah, the one thing for me is I've always liked the mantra and mentality of Atlanta United about being aggressive with young talent. And not to say that they aren't still going to. I have never liked the premise of going in and getting over-the-hill European players. And this is not a situation where this is a soccer market desperate to have some guy to come watch, right? This is not Thierry Henry. And not that those guys weren't very good players in their own right at those stages of their career, certainly in the MLS. But I don't want a guy that's an attraction. I want a guy that's going to come in and impact this team. And we can talk about the money all we want. I'm not concerned about the money. I'm concerned about how many openings you have and how many guys you realistically can bring in. You've got 2 DP spots. That's 2 impact players, plus the potential of Caleb Wiley. If you try and figure out something else there, obviously, we know we've got the guy coming in from Portugal. Is that your long-term solution? I know we've got a couple of youngsters with the 2s that are performing very well. Do you give them a shot to come up at their age? Do they need a little bit more seasoning? So a lot of questions still to be answered. I'm looking for someone that can come up and impact this squad immensely. And it's no secret what you need. You need a goal scorer and you need a creator. Like that's what you've lost. Whether they were having great seasons, whether they were there, whether they were injured, Gigi, you know what you had, and you haven't had that for a while. And you see it every single time out there now. You see the lack of creation. You see the lack of goal scoring. There's no denying. So whether it's a young guy that maybe does move on eventually, or whether it's someone a little bit older that can kind of become a mainstay. And look, we were spoiled with the Joseph Martinez timeline. Like this is a guy that very clearly wanted to stay on this continent, wanted to perform at this level, and maybe some physical attributes limited him from being able to go overseas. And so we had a guy that is at that level playing with you for multiple years up until and even after the injury finally started to have a career slowdown a little bit, although we did see him on Saturday night. But yeah, I mean, if you can find the right guy that's in that mixture of quality and age combined with, settling in life to an extent where they're happy here, they're not trying to use this as a stepping stone. I think that's awesome. And I wait to see it. All I'm saying is I've never liked the idea of a guy taking that step down to the MLS and considering it a retirement league. And I'm not suggesting that some of the guys there in Miami are viewing it that way. Like they came here together to win a
The
championship.
Gulfstream Galacticos, brother. That's what they're doing.
Sure. And obviously there's a heavy amount of money involved in living and playing in the U.S. I get that. And they seem to be having success with it. I think that's kind of a one-time deal to have all those guys take that much of a pay cut to play together, to remain together, some getting cuts of league distribute, all that stuff. So I wouldn't really use that as a system to look at and say we could do that here. But, for me, I'm just interested in getting guy. I don't care who it is. You can tell me it's a guy that's going to be, and if that's what Lagerwey wants, fine. I just want some guy that can impact the team, and we know specifically where we need those guys to be playing. And now I just await word on who those guys actually are.
Because, to look at it in other parlance, basically you're missing a point guard and a power forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, you are missing 2 potential all-stars in whichever league you want that to be, NBA or MLS. And again, I know they weren't performing up to snuff, especially Giakoumakis, and a lot of that did have to do with injury. But even though we might say they weren't having great seasons, you could very clearly see the difference of what there was with those guys on the field. Even with it, Giakoumakis gone and just Almada, you saw moments of creativity that you just aren't seeing out there right now. Nothing against the guys that are trying to get the job done. They're just not the same player. We saw potentially the last time on the field for Lionel Messi in an Argentina jersey last night. And there are questions about who's the next step. Otamendi's going to be gone, and Di Maria probably played his last. We know who the next guy is. Like it's no secret. I know he wasn't there yesterday. We're going to see him in Paris in a couple of weeks. Like that's the guy that we had stepping onto our pitch every midweek or Saturday game. And so you got to find a way to replace the potential and creativity, and you got to do it fast because the standings are starting to spread out a little bit more than you would like, and you're on the wrong side of that spread.
And I know that there are reports coming out of Italy where you're looking at an attacking midfielder from Atalanta with Miranchuk being a part of the discussion. And there were the reporters and the sources and the reporters sitting there saying that there were folks that had traveled from this side of the Atlantic to that side of the Atlantic to possibly discuss an attacking midfielder as a part of this discussion. But yes, we do get Pedro Amador coming in to help out on the left-hand side on the 18th. So he was practicing, if I remember correctly, late last week. And then once the 18th is up on the calendar, that means that you're okay, that you can actually be a part of the reindeer games. And so I would anticipate possibly some minutes from Amador on the left-hand side for a debut on the weekend going up against Columbus. But yeah, when you hit the 18th and all of this talk and all of these sources and all this 280 character app stuff that we've seen, you want to talk about a crazy window? I think you're going to get a crazy window starting on Thursday.
Well, and the other thing, and we talked about this on the shows before, is just like you got to remain patient. Just because some guy is here doesn't mean he's suiting up the next day. Understand some of the fitness issues, some of the visa issues, some of the travel issues, some of the work issues. And so we may sign a guy on the 19th or the 20th. I don't know if he's going to play until the start of August or beyond that. So I will give a little bit of pause and patience for that aspect of this process. But I'm very excited. As you mentioned, they're not going to sign 15 guys, but I know they have admitted to talking about and to, as many as 15 different guys. And so the fact that they and not that 15's narrowing it down a lot, but the fact that they have very specific ideas and circled players that they want to go after, and now it's just about making the right deals and getting the right offers. I'm excited. I really am excited that hopefully we can not only bring guys in that can impact the club this year, but as you mentioned, hopefully for many seasons to come. And hopefully we can look at this as a transfer. Look, we talked about the Falcons offseason, right? With this huge monster deal for Kirk Cousins. We talk about the Atlanta Hawks with Zachary Riza-Shea and trading DeJounte Murray. Like those are two Atlanta franchises that are potentially, we don't know yet, but potentially with transformational off seasons. And I know this isn't an off season for Atlanta United, but it is a moment of transformation, and hopefully we can look back at this transfer window where we sold Giakoumakis, a guy that could have won the Golden Boot if he took penalty kicks last year. We sold the best young player in the MLS in Thiago Almada, potentially Caleb Wiley, an up-and-comer, hopefully with the U.S. men's national team. We look at those three guys going out. Maybe we look at guys coming in and say, this is where it changed for Atlanta United. And maybe isn't going to be immediate or instant, but on the long run, is this the sort of transfer window we look back and say, man, they got all of that in one window. What would have been if they didn't do this right? So I'm looking at it as the sort of transformational type of period that we saw the Falcons and the Hawks go through, hopefully, but with Atlanta United. So a lot of optimism, and now it's just kind of wait and see.
How traditionally patient are you when it comes to the franchises and teams either that you are a fan of or that you cover on a daily basis?
Well, it comes down to trust in the front office, right? Like that's the big decision. With the Atlanta Braves, we all trust, like we have the mantra, like trust in AA, right? So we trust Alex Anthopoulos to do what needs to be done. And he hasn't done much this season in terms of in the midway point, but, bringing in Ronaldo Lopez, bringing in Chris, like he's very obviously made an impact. And we expect him to as well. There's a lot more questions about Landry Fields and the Atlanta Hawks. And so the question of, did we draft the right guy? Did we get enough in the DeJounte trade? So it kind of goes based on my trust in the front office to do what they do. And when I look at the Atlanta United front office and staff, look, I think there's been a lot of hits. I really do. And while we may not look at necessarily all of them as big successes, right? I know there's a couple of guys from South America that maybe didn't quite have what we thought they could have here, but getting them was a big coup and shooting for the stars. And they've continued to do that. And I see no reason to believe they won't continue to do that now. And so the one thing I will say is I don't think it's an immediate turnaround. I don't think you bring these guys in here at the window and you're like, oh, well, we're MLS Cup favorites. Like, no, it's not going to be that. But it is going to be more for next year and the years beyond to see. Now also, and you know this, John, there's so much anticipation for some of the guys who are playing in the academy and with the twos. Like, there's just so much talent there. And it's even been boosted by the fact that we've seen some of them become mainstays, but even like glimpses of some of them. Obviously, you've got Noah Cobb, but like we've seen more than a glimpse of Efren Morales. We've seen just a glimpse of Luke Brennan. We keep hearing about Matt Edwards. We see him in the U.S. Open. We might see a little bit more of him here in the MLS. And then you continue through with the twos and some of the young guys there. You think of what you can bring in the transfer window, combined with some of the young guys who continue to grow and develop, who are maybe a year, 18 months away, maybe less from being mainstays. There's a timeline where all of this kind of Venn diagrams itself to the right time for this club. And so I have to remain patient because that time is not immediately. Like I don't know if it's next year. I don't know if it's the year after, but it's not immediate. I certainly understand. Look, I'd be shocked if they win MLS Cup. I'd just go out and say it. I don't think they're going to win the MLS Cup this year. That doesn't mean they're not taking steps forward to winning it in 2025 or 2026. I think there's a timeline for teams to have that championship window. It does not start at this transfer window, but the moves made at this window could be what spur it to open up maybe next year or the year after. So I'm very patient in regards to that. I think I'm one of the more realistic fans. It's frustrating to watch. I get as disappointed and frustrated and all that as everyone else. But once the emotions of the immediate clear, I kind of understand, all right, well, we weren't going to do it this year anyway, so let's see what we're building for the future. So I'm realistic, but I certainly understand that not as many view it in the same manner that I do.
Double match week for 92.9 The Game and Atlanta United. It starts on Wednesday against NYCFC. Broadcast plans off the top of your head.
Yeah, we got Dukes and Bell are actually going to be at Mercedes-Benz Stadium ahead of that match midweek, so
Oh, hey now.
they'll be hanging out, and yeah, and me and Garrett will be ready. And look, it's been a crazy ride, obviously, this past month of soccer, not just for Atlanta United, but on the international level as well. It's going to get crazy again once we start the Olympics. But we got about a week and a half, maybe 10 days or so, 8 days, however long it may be before that, where there's going to be heavy focus on the MLS. A lot of that because of a double match week. But as you mentioned, the transfer window is opening up. So there's going to be news on the field, hopefully a little bit of news off the field. And certainly we're going to be busy keeping you abreast of every situation. We're not going to go into too much of the rumors and speculation because it is a little bit of silly season at that point. But anything that feels concrete, we'll be bringing your way Wednesday at 6:30, and then again on Saturday night. So excited for a double match week, and hopefully we can find a couple of points in there as well.
As always, my friend, it's great to catch up with you to bat lead off every single week here with our coverage of Atlanta United and everything in the sport of soccer. At Abe Gordon, at 929 The Game. As always, my friend, great to see you, and we'll see you at Mercedes-Benz on Wednesday.
You betcha. Excited to do it. Thanks.
Wear that Sugarland jersey, or at least bring it so I can see what it looks like. Be safe, my friend.
I will.
All right, there's Abe, and so Abe's going to bring the Sugarland Space Cowboys jersey. I have to see this, and but no, it's great that Abe got to spend time with his dad, and it's great that you get to kind of see minor league parks and things. So it's very, very cool. All right, so that's Abe, and I know that Will has been fired up this morning, and it's great to see everybody else in the Twitch pitch. I know. I'll go ahead and say hi to folks this morning. So let's see. Good morning, Wiley. Morning, Will. Let's see. So I saw Katie. So the morning, Katie. Morning, Four Card. Morning, Rich. Greetings from Philadelphia. And let's see. Morning, Ropes. And so that's where we go. Okay. So apparently there might be audio problems this morning with our friends from Twitch, and Twitch had Rich restart to make sure that he got all the ads in time. So there you go. All right. So like I said, it's a Monday. It's a reaction Monday. So it's a reaction on anything and everything. It is Atlanta United. We got to talk a lot about that with Abe here in the first half hour of the show. Atlanta United 2, we'll talk about that. The Copa, we'll talk about that because last night was a mess on one major front, and the match in and of itself lived up to what we'd anticipated with those two clubs. And morning, Michael Valverde. Greetings to you from up I-85. So you got that. We got the Copa, you got the Euro, you got Atlanta United 2, Major League Soccer. So it's basically whatever's on your mind, get it off your chest. Because as I always say, I don't want things hanging around all week long. Get everything off your chest so we can all talk about it, discuss as a group, and we can all go forward. Michael wants to talk about Messi openly weeping last night. Michael says it must talk Messi openly weeping last night hurt my soul. Well, and I mean, discussing what happened last night in the Copa, first and foremost, getting into the building at Miami Gardens turned into an adventure, a disappointing adventure on multiple fronts. And it was, you see what was happening and you wonder about the organizers of the event. You do. And it all starts with a match that was supposed to start at 8 o'clock or shortly thereafter. Hour and 20 minutes later, they finally do start the match from our friends at The Athletic. And this is when you've got more than one writer, you know that it's a problem. But Phil Hay kind of pieced it all together at The Athletic. Ticketless fans attempted to force their way into Hard Rock, prompting closure of the security gates. Front Office Sports at FOS on the 280 character app, they had a lot of the activity that was going on as folks were trying to get into the stadium, ticketless or otherwise. You had folks that were trying to show their tickets, and you know how we do it these days, where we take our phone, we sit there, and you go up against the QR code reader, and it goes dink, and you're allowed in. It wasn't working, or it had stopped working. Period. Ticketless fans attempted to force their way into Hard Rock in Florida, prompting closure of security gates. Crowds built up outside, crushed together, forced to wait in the heat with little or no access to water. Hay says the stewarding sounded dangerously inadequate. One observer described it to The Athletic as a disaster. Another talked of, quote, people piling on. There was more and more pressure, and of children vomiting. Two said they were threatened by police with tear gas and tasers. Mother of Argentine midfielder Alexis called it inhuman on TV. Local authorities blamed, quote, unruly behavior, end quote, for the congestion, and events such as yesterday's are not unique to the Copa. Wembley and London had similar unrest before the final of Euro 2020. We all remember that. Hard Rock will host 7 matches at the 2026 World Cup, including a quarterfinal. Hay continues. If CONMEBOL takes one thing away from Copa 2024, it should be the need to professionalize the competition. Players involved in it have made the point that the Copa can be reduced to looking like a poor relation to the Euros. Standard and sizes of the pitch used in the U.S. caused dissent because, remember, they were scrunched. Legitimately, they were scrunched. If you were at any of the venues that had a match, you could tell traditionally where the layout is if you know the size of your native soccer pitch, you could tell that they were brought in. It was brought into its dimensions. I think it was squeezed in by 5. It was 10 yards together, end zone to end zone, and then squeezed 5 yards in from corner flags. So basically in this way and in this way. And you could tell. If you went to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, you could tell that something was different. So standards and sizes of pitch, chaos seen at the end of Uruguay and Colombia. Copa's footballers need to showcase the sport a little better. The chaos, and you've got images from Getty and the New York Times that are disappointing, disturbing, however you want to phrase it. So it got to the point to where the pressure was so bad that security basically just went ahead and opened the gates because of the crush of folks trying to get in with their tickets and QR codes or what have you. Fans just crashed over the gates. Fans asked to arrive early. Hard Rock also said fans must have a game ticket to enter the stadium campus on Sunday. Busy outside at 3, gates opened at 5. Crowd outside started to build around 6. Fans were arrested for hopping fences trying to get into the game. Decision to shut the gates around the stadium, a response to what Miami-Dade police called unruly behavior, would prove key to what followed. On the 280 character app, Miami-Dade PD. Asking everyone to be patient and abide by the rules set by our officers and Hard Rock Stadium personnel, actively working with Hard Rock Stadium to ensure a safe environment for all those attending. Unruly behavior will get you ejected and or arrested. We have a zero tolerance behavior against unruly conduct from everyone attending. Video showed fans holding up their tickets to cameras saying they paid $2,000 for seats only to be denied entry. Hard Rock spokesperson, quote, throughout the afternoon and evening, there were numerous attempts by unruly fans without tickets to overpower security and law enforcement personnel at entry points to the stadium, putting themselves, other fans, and security and stadium staff at extreme risk. Various stadium gates were closed and reopened strategically in an attempt to allow ticketed guests to enter safely and in a controlled manner. Fans continued to engage in illegal conduct, fighting police officers, breaking down walls and barricades, vandalizing the stadium, causing significant damage to the property, end quote. From, once again, The Athletic and our friends at the New York Times, since they are now one and together. Stephen, a 34-year-old Colombian who lives in Miami and was with a woman who was carried unconscious into the stadium by a police officer, described the situation. Everyone started to push, and you could feel yourself losing air once we got closer to the gates. You can only imagine. I noticed that Diana, the woman he was with, was struggling. Fortunately, I was standing behind her. Diana said she remembered the moment she fainted. I tried to breathe. The man kept telling me, try to breathe, and I responded, I wanted him to open another gate. They were using one gate for all of these people, but people pushed back. I held on to a man that was standing near me. Everyone was pushing. Colombians, Argentines, everyone was pushing. Friends and family members caught up in the melee. Once again, this is the wording from The Athletic. Southwest Gate was an entry point for media and VIP. Family of Colombia fullback Daniel Munoz sat together just inside the entrance shortly after the gates were closed, having been pushed toward the entrance and eventually being pulled inside. Alexis's family was caught up in it. Alexis had to come out to get us in, his mother said on Argentine television. He was worried about us. It was inhuman. He gave us a hug. We told him to stay calm and get ready to play. One media member who works for a rights holder was slammed to the ground and arrested after getting through a gate where media members had been held. Argentine Colombia players went out to warm up in front of a sparse crowd at just after 7, only to stop at 7:30. Obviously, the match wasn't going to start on time. Nestor Lorenzo quoted, when we were warming up and in the locker rooms, they told us there was a half-hour delay. It was more, right? We were trying to talk to our family members and friends and finding out if they were okay. It was a bit weird and chaotic. We tried to keep calm, but there was a level of anxiousness. 2 fans, both wearing Honduran gear, got in around 8, 2 hours after waiting with the mass of folks, both in sweat and visibly frustrated. They said police threatened them with tear gas and tasers. Fan frustration boiled over again, and this is a point that you guys are making in the Twitch pitch. CONMEBOL is a disaster, he said of the tournament organizers, the South American Football Confederation. In North Carolina, Uruguay, Colombia was a test. They should have prepared themselves, and the same thing is happening. North Carolina was a disaster. This is a fan talking. Right now, it's going down the same path or worse. CONMEBOL should not have brought this tournament to the United States. Look around because they're not ready for a World Cup, end quote. I'll stop right there. This is not a United States issue. CONMEBOL, and it has been made the point that you guys have been discussing, going back into all of the discussion here. Will, CONMEBOL needs a reckoning. Yeah, and Will mentions that there were folks that were through vents on the outside of out of Hard Rock, standing on overhangs, trying to work their way into the stadium that way. Rich. Everyone blamed CONCACAF, the U.S. Soccer Fed, Miami, and anything American for the problem, all saying this is bad for World Cup 2026 when the whole thing falls on CONMEBOL. Will, and legitimately, to Will's point, Will says, as a Liverpool supporter, you see a crush and you think back. Full disclosure, and I've said it before and I'll continue to say it. I have donated to the Hillsborough Family Support Group in the past. Sidebar, if you have not seen BBC's Panorama about Hillsborough, I would recommend taking an hour of your time and watching it. But yes, that entered my mind as a part of all of this too. Morning, Tom. Tom says climbing up vines onto roofs, smashing escalators, even stealing the giant bags of popcorn, dumping it into the concourse for what reason? Insanity. Hutch is coming up with a new acronym for the group, Comedy Ball. Will, police blaming the fans when blame needs to be solely on CONMEBOL on their inability to plan. Rich, CONMEBOL 100% doing everything they could to get the money they couldn't at 2016. Tom, and their cheapness, meaning CONMEBOL. And that's the crux of it. Not enough security because they didn't want to pay for it. Michael Valverde. Mobs are impossible to manage. Not that people can be better, but we also need to encourage fans to put this match in perspective and stop endangering themselves and others bum rushing the gate. And that'll be the difference in 26. From Tom, layered security, you won't be able to get anywhere near the gates without a ticket. Commando HD, waiting for CONMEBOL to blame Colombian support. Will says it'll be insane just how much better the World Cup is organized here in 26. And yeah, Will, 8 became 8:30, which became 9:20. Morning, Abby. And Rich says, it's bad when you think FIFA would handle the Miami situation better than CONMEBOL did. And Rich, you are right. The Liverpool doc, I think, is on ESPN 30 for 30 channels for those of you that haven't had the chance to watch it. But you had a lot of folks early on in this process. And we'll get to talking about the game and the match and the history in Argentina and their place in a bit. But you had a lot of folks who were trying to discuss bringing CONCACAF into this. Then CONCACAF was like, nuh-uh. This was a CONMEBOL event. And it was up to CONMEBOL as to levels of security. Hey, you want to invest in this, and this. And the venues are basically, from my understanding, the venues are like, okay, CONMEBOL has this set standard. This is how you are to operate. And that's what you ended up with. You had, and I'm going to say it as this, you had a fan incident at the end of Colombia and Uruguay, and you had inside the stadium at the end. And then you had the rush of people that were trying to get into Hard Rock for the final. And that's what you had. I will be intrigued to see what CONMEBOL has to say about this. If they do some kind of public postmortem, CONMEBOL may just do a post-tournament postmortem about capacities, revenue, fan engagement, all those kinds of things. We may not have anything where they're going to discuss what went down at the semifinal in Charlotte and the final in Miami. Abby says that she can just say when they were in charge of the first game here, the kickoff, they did not involve event staff in planning. I'm guessing it was something along the lines of, we got this. So we'll see. Abby said, too rich, spoke with a friend who's been to multiple World Cups last night at the twos match up at the Fraction. It'll be better with FIFA, surprisingly. But last night in Miami, there's your punchline. Commando says the Dolphins should be happy. First time in history, people were rushing into the stadium. What do you think? And morning, Unc. Right now, we're talking about what happened last night in Miami. We'll get into the game in a bit. But the larger discussion here, what do you think the conversation is going to be like between Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, and Hard Rock Stadium, and CONMEBOL? What do you think that conversation is going to be like? Stephen Ross will be showing pictures of all of the stuff that was destroyed I mean, it'll be some big damn PowerPoint presentation. Send a flash drive to the CONMEBOL headquarters. Here's my evidence of what happened with this building. What are you going to do about it? And probably somewhere in the contract of having a venue as a part of a tournament, there's probably an assumed risk element that's attached. That would be my guess. But what I just imagine the conversation. I would think that at 9:01 this morning, before we came on the air, literally, I'm sure Stephen Ross, it's like, hello, CONMEBOL, hello, you're sitting there and you're punching like 35 numbers into your phone, trying to have a conversation. Yeah, Tom, we're going to get into the ankle. It's not a pretty picture. But what do you bet Stephen Ross at 9:01 this morning was dialing up CONMEBOL headquarters and was like, you see what happened here. I would like for you to do something about this. CONMEBOL's like, sorry, your connection, your can't quite yet. I think your cell dropped here. We can't hear you. What do you want to bet those conversations are like? Yeah, Rich, exactly. Stephen Ross, you see what happened here? Sorry, sir. We can't hear you. You seem to be dropping out. We can't quite hear what you're saying. Sorry, you're going to have to call us back later. Man, I wonder what those conversations are like. I wonder what those conversations are like this morning. I really do. What are those conversations like? Out of Miami Gardens to CONMEBOL. What are they like? As for the match in and of itself, that was crazy. I mean, if you really wanted a match to be one of those matches where you're like, a showcase for your tournament, where we've always had the great debate. Okay, so who's the better player of this generation? Blah blah blah. You're sitting there and you're going, man, that is not how you anticipated Lionel Messi going out of international competition representing his country. I'm not going to show the picture. I'm not going to show the picture. I'm just going to describe it this way. It looked like, like when you're watching a baseball game and you've got the dude in the on-deck circle, and they've taken the weighted donut and they've put it around the bat to help you, to just help you swing with a weight. That's what it looked like. The weighted donut that's usually around a baseball bat in an on-deck circle, that's what Messi's ankle looked like after he had to be subbed. He was taken down in the first half, close to a 2-minute boarding penalty attached to it, which the folks over in Sunrise would have known exactly what was going on. But it was studs in the first half. Messi was down for a while. Then in the second half, he had to be taken off in tears. And you could tell, literally he takes his right boot off and he chucks it in the air. And I swear to God, it looked like one of those donuts that you wrap around a baseball bat. And Abby's like, yeah, he had sock compression. Swelling is quick, but gravity also takes effect. Yeah. So optimistically, if you are a fan of Messi and friends, Once gravity's taken hold, maybe you elevate it for a little bit, put some ice on it, maybe in a week or so, maybe by Leagues Cup. I don't know if you're going to get Messi at the All-Star game, or if you do, he's just going to stand there. And to Abby, to your point, it may not just have been about being in pain. It's about the idea of like, I've got to check out. This is not going well. But still, it makes me wonder now about the All-Star game and how things are going to be for Messi and friends going forward. To Rich's point, he wonders if Hamas put himself on the market for an MLS club. He damn well better had. Morning, Alex. Alex says it wasn't where he was injured. The attempted cross in the end line where he went into the boards and rolled back onto the field. Inside ankle touched the turf. Yee, when he planted the cross. I mean, but yeah, just to see gravity and that weighted donut down around the base, that was, rolling the other ankle. I mean, that was, whew. But anyway, to Rich's point, I can guarantee you, and Jarrett, when Jarrett comes on the next time he comes on, there are two guys that Jarrett focused on from Colombia, Borja and Hamas. Jarrett, I think, wants Garth Lagerway, and I think that Jarrett will find a way to get to the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, and he'll knock on the door and go, Garth, sign Borja and Hamas right now. You look at Transfermarkt, I think both of their values. Hamas, it Transfermarkt. Well, let's see what our friends at Transfer. I think that going into the tournament, I think Hamas only had a street value, according to Transfermarkt, at I think €3.5 million. And so James Rodriguez listed right now $3.5 million. Hamas is listed at $3.5 million. That's what his current value according to Transfermarkt is. It has been a steady decline since Everton. Sorry, Tom. 2020 he had a value of 35. 2021 a value of 20 when he was at Al Rayyan at the age of 30. $9 million when he was at Olympiacos when he was 31. Without Club FC, it was down to $6 million. $5 million last December when he was signed by Sao Paulo at the age of 32. Down to $3.5 million right now at Sao Paulo. And you're going, sign him up now. I would anticipate that, Rich, to your point, Hamas has made a lot of friends. And I'm sure the agents that he has at Hestafute are sitting there, and they are putting a massive price tag on Hamas right now. They are really putting a price tag on Hamas. But now, with Hamas and Miguel Borja was the one who was playing center forward last night for Colombia. He's 31, and he was the one who, toward the end of the match in the extra 30, wasn't having it with the antics of Emi Martinez. Current market value for a guy like Borja right now, according to Transfermarkt, is €4.5 million. So I'm sure that Hestafute and JP Passion Sports, the two agencies attached to Hamas and Borja, probably have their phones very, very busy this morning. But I would think that Hamas, Michael, great to see you this morning. Thanks for dropping by. That's the key to all of this. Hamas, I'm sure, really put himself out on the market. Really did. Really did. Then you get bringing a guy like Borja, who's not going to back down from anybody, and looked like in the second 15 minutes last night he wanted to fight anybody and everybody in an Argentina jersey. Yikes. Wow. Oh, wow. Okay. Alex Basine doing the Lord's work this morning and showing Messi's ankle going a direction it wasn't supposed to. And was that? I think that was the first half. Was that the first half injury? I think that's the one where he goes into the boards. I think that was the first half. But yeah, ankles aren't supposed to go that way, and that's why he was down for a while. And Abby, I would think the World Cup does separate fans. But yeah, Alex link in the Twitch pitch shows the Messi ankle going a direction that it is not supposed to go. And then what I initially thought was the injury was the clattering into by the player as they're both heading into the boards. It was the ankle and the move before the coming together. There's your link. I'll go ahead and show it. There's the link to go click to it with the slow-mo if you guys have had breakfast and you feel comfortable in clicking on something like that. But that is the injury, at least the first one, because yeah, ankles aren't supposed to go in that direction. Played on it as long as he could, and that will be the big question. That will be the big question. And then you sit there and look at it and you go, man, he is one of the bravest dudes out there. If he played on that ankle for however long he did, end of the first half, plus Shakira, plus the half, and then coming out in the 66th. So 20 minutes plus intermission, plus the tail end of the first half on that ankle. That, I mean, if there is any doubt as to who the tougher SOB is between CR38 and 39 and Messi, there should be no more question. Argentina breaks a tie with Uruguay for all-time most in the competition history, 16. Third major tournament in a row for Scaloni. Listed as the bicampeón for Copa America. So basically, you win the Copa America, you win the World Cup, and you win the Copa America. So you literally have a Bloody Mary, a steak sandwich, and a steak sandwich. Scaloni after the match, I don't know if we've defined an era, but this team no longer surprises me. We improved in the second half, deserve to win. It's gratifying to watch the team play. Di Maria got a title with his last match, 145th appearance for his country. Rodrigo, we understand that football has no memory. You have to keep going. I'm very proud of the team, of my teammates, and to be Argentine. Canada, Chile, Peru, Ecuador, Canada, and we'll talk about Canada in a bit. Colombia beat Paraguay, Costa Rica, drew Brazil, beat Panama, Uruguay in the Final Four. 28 matches in a row. Streaks finally closed off at 28. The team that was the last to beat them was the one that broke the streak and broke the number. So that's what you end up with involving Argentina and their run. But yeah, man. You look at that. You look at that. Look at that injury. Will is a fan of Hamas. Older, sure. How would he deal with travel? Well, and Will, the other question for me involving Hamas is his injuries. How does, I mean, you when you get good Hamas, there's a joke in there somewhere about food, but when you get good Hamas, you get what you got in this tournament. When you get all of that money invested, and then you end up with the James Rodriguez that ends up being injured. Right now, he's 33. 33. That's the bigger question with Hamas. Do you take the good with the bad? Do you take the injuries? So Sao Paulo, let's go over his career, and I'm sure that Tom is probably putting his fingers in his ears over his time at Everton. 2024, so far, he's played 8 matches. 2023, played 12 in Serie A, 2 in the Sudamericana. 22-23 season, 24 matches from his time in Greece. 2022 at Al Rayyan, 16 matches in 21 and 22. 23 in the Premier League, 2 in the FA Cup, 1 in the EFL Cup, in the Gummy Bear. 26 matches in the 2021 season for Everton. Sorry, Tom. 6 goals, 4 assists, 23 matches. That's about 2/3 of a season. Tom, you'll have to help me out to figure out how much of that was injury-based and how much of that is participation-based. Tom with the info. Hamas helped Dominic Calvert-Lewin have his one good season. He, Richarlison, Luca Digne fed him all year. He's only worth anything when he gets that kind of service. Rich, Hamas is 100% the player that plays better for his national team than for club. After Everton, when he was in La Liga in 19 and 20 at Real Madrid, 14 matches, 19 and 20. 18-19, 28 matches for Bayern. And then you get back into like 17-18 in the Bundesliga and Champions League and stuff, and it's 39 matches in 17-18. Then all of the competitions that he was in 16-17 and drifting backward with his time at Real Madrid. 22 La Liga matches, 6 in Champions League, 3 in the Copa, 33 matches in 16-17, 32 matches 15-16, La Liga with Real Madrid in 14-15, playing in 6 different competitions. 29 in La Liga, 38, 42, 43, and 3 is 46. At Monaco, 13-14, 38 matches. And, we keep going backward and backward and backward. Porto played a lot of matches between 10-11 and 12-13 in the 3 seasons that he was there. So stats by club, 125 matches with Real Madrid, 37 and 42. Porto, 108 matches, 32 and 42. 67 at Bayern Munich, 15 and 20, goals and assists. Bonfield, 50 matches, 10 goals. Monaco, 38 matches, 10 goals. Everton, 26 matches, 6 goals. This is all comps. Olympiacos, 23 matches, 5. Sao Paulo, 22 and 2. Al Rayyan, 16 matches, 5 goals and 7 assists. So age 33, yes, it was injuries limited him that season, would have had him back, but Rafa Benitez didn't want him after Don Carlo left. So the key here is, once again, do you want 33-year-old, and this is an open-ended question for anybody. Would you want 33-year-old James Rodriguez, hoping that you get national team James and hoping that he stays as healthy as possible? That's what you're looking at with James Rodriguez. Rich, has anyone checked on Messi and friends regarding Messi? Are they sweating? I bet they will. I bet they are. I bet they are. Ooh, boy. But when you think about legacies and Argentina and what we saw involving Argentina last night and the carryover from here, the key is now what you saw is a group without Messi that is basically Lautaro Martinez and, however you want to phrase it out there. A group of players that's going to just come after you, and it's almost like dealing with the Terminator. It absolutely will not stop. They switch out players, and you saw how they were after Messi left with 24 minutes to go plus another 30 plus PKs. Put it on their shoulders, and I know at the same time you are going to want to sit there and go, no, I do not want to be the one that lost this with Messi on my team. That is what I do not want at all. Do not want that at all. You don't want that kind of pressure. Do not. So that's what you're looking at with Argentina. Argentina found a different way to win with different personnel, with Messi sitting on the bench. And I think at the same time, that's what, if you are Argentina, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that next wave, as Scaloni said, that with everything, the generation that's leaving, you now have new folks coming in. I want to see what it looks like with this squad at the Olympics. I want to see who's going to be attached to that group that was winning the Copa America last night. Let me get into that roster real quick. So, lineups last night. Lautaro Martinez scored in 112th. Emi Martinez, once again, continues to be nuts. And when you have that kind of a swagger about you, you are unbeatable. 4-4-2 to start for Argentina. Emi Martinez in net. Left to right, Tagliafico, Lisandro Martinez, Cristian Romero, Gonzalo Montiel. Midfield 4, Angel Di Maria, Rodrigo, Enzo Fernandez, and Alexis. 2 up top, Julian Alvarez and Lionel Messi. That group was last night. Subs for Scaloni. Nico Gonzalez came in for Messi in the 66th minute. Nahuel Molina came in for Montiel with 20 to go, plus another 30. Lautaro Martinez came in the added 30 minutes for Julian Alvarez. Lo Celso came in. Paredes came in for Fernandez and Alexis. And then Otamendi came in for a cup of coffee at the tail, giving Di Maria a curtain call. The rest of that roster that was there, Garnacho, Carboni, Guido Rodriguez, Ezequiel Palacios, Corta, Acuna, Petzela, Rulli, and Armani. But once again, I want to see what this group looks like with the younger guys in Paris and how all of this blends together. I don't put anything past Messi, but I'm fairly confident that this is probably his last Copa. Getting back to the security thing real quick, Miami-Dade Mayor Daniela Levine Cava issued a statement saying Miami-Dade police provided more than 550 officers for the match and that they were outraged by the unprecedented events. Statement read, the Copa America final is organized by CONMEBOL, and Miami-Dade Police Department provides security support along with other law enforcement agencies. Continuing. Let's be clear, this situation should never have taken place and cannot happen again. We'll work with stadium leadership to ensure that a full review of tonight's events takes place immediately to evaluate the full chain of events in order to put place in needed protocols and policies for all future games. Vero Brunati tweeted at 10:37 last night, she was unable to enter the stadium. Vero Brunati is one of the most well-known Argentine journalists that covers the sport. But we all know that this is going to come back to CONMEBOL. But I want to know what CONMEBOL says about this. I really do. It was a great financial windfall. We had this many fans and percent capacity, and this was how it was. It was great. But what about That. Don't know what you're talking about. It's the Gilbert Gottfried element in Beverly Hills Cop. It's like you've got the speeding ticket in one hand, and the Eddie Murphy and John Ashton, I think, are in the room, and Gilbert Gottfried has the ticket in his hand. It's like, and you're looking at this piece of paper, and you're looking at something that's over here in this other hand, and it's like and it's like you look at what's going on in the other hand, and all of a sudden you wonder about this piece of paper, and the piece of paper just kind of just like oh. Mm-hmm. Abby, yes. Stadium officials not in charge, not informed, included in plans. CONMEBOL, we got this. CONMEBOL, everybody stay cool. Kevin Bacon in Animal House. Stay calm, all is well. It's not. And it wasn't. It put a massive shadow over some of the most hotly contested matches we've seen in quite some time. And I think that for the United States to see what Copa America means to CONMEBOL, I think it was on the field. I think it was a great spectacle to see what it means. But then you have the final, honestly overshadowed by what happened leading into the match. Rich says, knowing CONMEBOL from Libertadores, they'll blame the whole thing on the fans. Unruly fans, you fans. But yeah, I still want to know what that conversation. I still want to know what that conversation was like with Stephen Ross at 9:01 this morning. I really do. I want to know. And Abby thinks that they'll blame Hard Rock. They'll blame Hard Rock, Miami Gardens, police, anybody but themselves. But I do want to know what the conversation's like. If I'm Miami media, I want to know. One of my first phone calls, if I'm an assignment desk in Miami Television, morning, Derek. If I'm an assignment desk in Miami Television, if I'm Channel 7, if I'm Channel 4, if I'm Channel 10, and I know I'm forgetting somebody, I want to know 4, 7, 10. I can't remember the other one. I want to know what the Dolphins and Hard Rock and Stephen Ross have to say. That's my first phone call. Stephen Ross is calling CONMEBOL at 9:01. If I'm a Miami television station, I'm calling Hard Rock at 9:01, and I'm calling the Dolphins. You see all the scenes from social media of everybody shooting everything and how club, escalators are destroyed. All the stuff inside the stadium is just, from pillar to post, it's just knocked upside down and destroyed. I want to know what the bill is to have to repair what happened last night at Hard Rock. And I want to know what the response is. And yeah, and I'm thinking, Abby, that Florida might be a one-person state. Abby's like, record the conversation. Amen. But I think Florida's a one-party state. Only one half needs to know that the conversation's being recorded. But if I'm a TV station in Miami, my first phone call after my organizational meeting is to Hard Rock. My lead story, sadly, is the Copa. It's the match, and it's what happened at the stadium last night. And getting a response from the Miami Dolphins, other than the boilerplate stuff that we know that we're going to get. So if you're anywhere near a monitor, streaming device at noon, check your Miami TV stations and see what they have to do with coverage and if the Dolphins are going to put any kind of a statement out. That's going to be the fun part. And Rich, you're probably right. Rich says, here's the new wrinkle. Because of this, for 26, stadiums will over-security the games. You're probably right. At least in probably the larger markets. You probably will have several rings that you're going to have to get through. But I think at Mercedes-Benz, thinking locally, there's going to be a perimeter And it's probably going to be that area, where you've got the World Congress Center, you've got State Farm. As soon as State Farm ends, right there at the access roads where you've got to turn in and go into like Red Deck and stuff, that's where that perimeter is going to start. Hey, can you pass through? Yes, I can. But you're walking. There will be no parking for anybody because of the perimeter. Or there's going to have to be access points that will be around the perimeter in and of itself. And it's going to be like one access point in, one access point out. But yeah, WFOR, WSV, and WPLG, 4, 7, and 10. I can't remember the other one. CBS Miami is 4. SVN is the independent. PLG is 10. That's ABC. NBC Miami, I can't remember what NBC Miami is off the top of my head. But anyway, check the local news in Miami at noon. Have that up on your streaming device. Canada, you mentioned Jesse Marsh. Jesse Marsh was not a happy man about how his team was treated in the tournament. They got knocked out, but Jesse Marsh, less than happy about how his team was treated, and was more than happy to let anybody know. Had all kinds of assessments of the player pool, all this kind of stuff. And Jesse was also at the Can Champ, which is their version of the All-In tournament. That's Open Cup. Open Cup to you and me is the Canadian Championship. And Jesse Marsh was less than pleased about how his team was treated. Literally, he thought they were treated as second-class citizens. That's the word he used. Jesse Marsh thought that Canada was treated as second-class citizens. So let me get the quotes because, like I said, I want to get this right. I want to lay this all out. Copa America has not been professional. And this came this was leading into the third place match where Marcelo Bielsa, goes on a rant about CONMEBOL and everything associated with it. Slamming the grass, slamming the organization, slamming anything that moves. Jesse Marsh, after Bielsa's rant, I agree with certain things and then I disagree with certain things. For me, this tournament has not been professional. There's too many gaps in the way. And the treatment and the overall experience from a day-to-day perspective, I watched what happened after the match, and certainly I don't know all the details, and this is after what happened in Charlotte. But certainly we wouldn't want anyone's families or any players' families to be put in harm's way. But I know if Team Canada, if our team would have responded like this, that there would be heavy sanctions because of the treatment that we received in this tournament. The whole time we've had our players be headbutted. We've had racial slurs thrown at our players live and through social media. The Moise Bombito, I believe. We've been treated like second-class citizens. That's what Jesse Marsh had to say about the tournament. Alphonso Davies, after he was tackled in the semifinal from Montiel, got treatment, no foul called. No foul was called on Montiel, and Davies was injured. So now, after that, Marsh comes back in and he says, with that question, you give me another opportunity to talk about how poor the refereeing was on the tackle with Alphonso Davies. And if you were to turn it over and put that against the biggest player from the other team, specifically from South America in this tournament, the behavior and treatment for such a tackle in such a situation would be very different. So we were lucky that we avoided any big injury with Alphonso, but we're not totally certain if he'll be available. This was obviously before the third place match. And one of the main jobs of a referee in any match is to protect the safety of players, and that was not doing his job, end quote. So Jesse Marsh, less than pleased about his experience. If Jesse Marsh was given giving a report card for the conduct of the Copa America, like when we were in elementary school, where it's like respects materials, plays well with others, those kinds of grades. I'm guessing plays well with others. Jesse Marsh is probably giving either an N or a U. Respects materials, probably an N or a U. So this is not looking good from Jesse Marsh, which reminds me, we probably need to track down Christian Jack just to get a bit of a post-mortem from the Canadian men's national team side, even though they are in the middle of their Canadian championship right now. And Forge might have a shot of making the final if they take care of business in leg 2 against Toronto FC. So it could be a Forge Vancouver final if things keep up. But that's what you're staring at when you're looking at Jesse Marsh, Canada, less than pleased. Bielsa, Uruguay, less than pleased. Final, no word from Nestor Lorenzo about pleased or no. Scaloni, probably happy that he won, but probably not pleased about other things. So this is looking like that CONMEBOL might be getting either a needs improvement or an unsatisfactory in their conduct grades from their report card from all of the other peers that were associated with the tournament. And it ended up the way that it did last night. And yikes. All right, whatever's on your mind this morning. Thank you, Rich. Thank you. Channel 6. So 4, 6, 7, 10. That's your noon viewing to see if they don't have what happened last night and a reaction from the Dolphins front office and or Hard Rock that is something outside of boilerplate. That will be disappointing. But was it Rich? Was it you that was having part of the discussion, the alleged discussion with Stephen Ross and the alleged CONMEBOL discussion? It's like, well, but did you make money? Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, Rich. You see what happened here? CONMEBOL. Did you make money? Yes. But the thing is, Rich, I don't know. I don't know when it comes to all the damage that was made in Hard Rock, how much on the plus side Hard Rock as an entity was. I don't know. Capital improvements, I don't know. That's going to be the interesting question. And Abby, yeah, you wonder if they ran out of food. You wonder if concessions were challenged. A lot of things to look at, and I know that this is going to be a story that we look at a lot going forward. I know that we've got the Euro on the table. It did not go home. It did not go home. Spain beat England 2-1. Nico Williams scored goalless at the break. Nico Williams scored in the 47th. Cole Palmer equalized. Then the Oyarzabal scored with 4 minutes to go. 2-1, Spain wins it, and it is not going home. Stats on the day. Spain 65-35 in possession. XG, if you believe in those things, 1.95 to 0.53. 5 big chances to 2. 16 total shots for Spain. 9 for England. 4 saves by Jordan Pickford, and a couple of them kept them in the match. Only 2 saves for Xavi Simon. 10 corners to 2. 11 fouls to 5. Interesting dichotomy there for Spain. Almost twice as many passes. Well, when you have twice as much possession, that makes sense. More tackles by England than by Spain, 18-14, 11 free kicks to 5, 3 yellows for England compared to the 1 for Spain in the match. 6 shots on target compared to 4, 5 shots off target, and compared to 2, 5 blocks compared to 3. All of these are Spain categories that they lead in. Shots inside the 18, 12, 5. Shots outside, obviously, would then be 4, 4. 2 big chances scored. 5 big chances missed on the match, 3 by Spain, 2 by England. Touches in the penalty area, once again, possession being what it is. It ends up being twice the number, 31-16. Accurate passes, final third phase. Get this. Final third phase passing. 59% for England. 55 of 93. Almost a 40% increase in entries in passes by Spain on the day. 84% on 152 passes. Final third phase, 93 passes for England, only 59% accuracy. Long balls about even, crosses 4-1. England won more duels. 34 of the 57, 60%. 5 dribbles compared to 4. Once again, defending interceptions 6-4 for England. They had more recoveries. They had twice as many clearances. They had twice as many saves. Goals prevented, a .16. 11 goal kicks on the day. Spain played better. And I know that the FA is wondering if they should keep Gareth Southgate, even though they lost in the final. Should they? Should they? That's the larger question attached to all of this. Agonizing defeat. And so, of course, if you're Scottish, you're Welsh, or you're Irish, you're laughing because it's not coming home. According to the Telegraph, Potter, Pochettino, Tuchel, Eddie Howe, front runners as possible candidates being explored by the FA. Matt Law at the Telegraph. If Southgate decides to step down, that is how it is being addressed. Eddie Howe will be near the top of any shortlist. Southgate taking some time to decide his future. Wants to stay. The FA wants him to stay on past his contract expiry in December. Lee Carsley also on the list. England's U21 manager. Lampard, Gerrard also could enter, considered outsiders. Southgate's believed to earn around £5 million a year, the lower end of the scale for a manager at a top Premier League club. Eddie Howe would have to almost certainly take a pay cut, according to Law, to succeed. Bullingham did not rule out, the head of the FA did not rule out appointing a foreign manager, as they did on the women's side with Serena Wiegman. That would open up Pochettino and Tuchel. Carsley, admired within the FA, guided the U21s, beating Spain in the final last summer. Abby wants to know the passing rate last night, first half compared to second. Let's see if we can find out the passing rates. Stats. Okay, so passing rates, and this is, Abby, I imagine that you're wanting to know the Copa numbers. Stats on the day, 55-45 possession, Colombia. And this is in the overall. We'll break it down in a bit. XG, 1.04 to 1.02. Each team had a big chance. 19 total shots for Colombia. Keeper saves 5-4 for Colombia. Corners 7-4. Passes 602 compared to 474. 23 tackles compared to 18. All of this is in Colombia's lead. Free kick 17, 8 Argentina. 2 yellow cards each side. So, looking at the passing numbers, accurate passes, 515 in total for Colombia. So first half passes about even. Long balls 56%, 9 of 16, compared to 9 of 17 completed for Argentina. 5 crosses compared to 3. Duels 51 to 49. So passing numbers about even when it came to accurate passes in the first half. Second half, and this is before extra time. We'll treat extra time also as a different number. 22 more accurate passes by Colombia. Final third entries, they had 3 more, 26 to 23. 3 long balls out of 21 for Colombia in the second half. 14 long balls completed out of 21 attempts for Argentina in the second half. Both teams 4 of 8 on crosses. In the second half, Argentina won almost 2-1 in the duels. They won 65% of the duels in the second half alone. 16 to 28 on the ground, 12 of 15 in the air. Colombia only won 3 aerial duels in the second half. 3 for 6 on the dribble, 1 for 4 for Colombia. First period of extra time. Colombia had 59% possession compared to 41%. Had more passes, 77 to 53. Accurate passes, 64. So they passed it 6 out of 7, so 86%. For Argentina, they passed it about 80%, 43 of 53. Each team had 2 long balls, first extra period, and Argentina had the 1 cross that was completed. Second period of extra time. Colombia had 77% possession in the second extra time. XG, 0.36 to 0.21. 1 big chance converted. 3 total shots to 2 Colombia. 85 passes for Colombia in the second extra time period compared to 26 for Argentina. Passing in that second extra time, 66 out of 85. So 75%-ish, 6 of 8, 3/4. 26 passes for Argentina, 15 completed. So that's maybe 60%. Doing quick math. 7 of 13 long balls for Colombia, 2 of 8 for Argentina. Only 1 cross for Colombia. But Argentina won 60% of the duels in the second extra time. 5 out of 8, 4 out of 7 in the air. 9 out of 15 total in the duels in the second extra time period. 75% of the tackles won from Argentina compared to 50% for Colombia. 10 recoveries compared to 8. 9 clearances, and I imagine most of those after the Lautaro Martinez goal. 9 clearances on the day in the second extra time period compared to 1 for Colombia. So those were the numbers. Argentina dialed it up in the second half. Like I said, are you going to be the person that sits there and says, yeah, I lost the Copa America in Messi's last Copa America? You don't want that. You don't want that smoke. And Abby, that's another question. Abby wants to know. Question with the heat index in the mid-90s throughout the game, why were there no water breaks? Maybe because of the late start, they thought that they could get away with it. I don't know. Oh, I would imagine CONMEBOL has a heat index policy. Let's see if they've got it printed. So we're on the Googles. CONMEBOL heat policy. So here's what they did. Staff report. Remember, back in the group stage, you had the AR, Humberto Pañoj, collapse at the end of the first half of Canada and Peru in Kansas City. Maxime Crépeau, understanding the gravity of the situation, made sure that Pañoj was taken care of there. Feels like temperature of 101. 8 venues that were open air. Q2, B of A, MetLife, Levi's, Arrowhead, Children's Mercy, Hard Rock, and the Purple Team Stadium, Inter and Co. Okay. Of the 14 stadiums, 8 exposed to open air. So, what was the policy for CONMEBOL involving heat indices? Event organizers use the wet bulb globe temperature index to judge the heat and the humidity. Temperature, humidity, wind speed, sun angle, cloud cover, solar radiation. To get a more accurate snapshot of just how hot it would be for a player, official, or member of backroom staff out on the field. Taken twice before a game, at 90 minutes and an hour before kickoff, which presents an interesting question. Was it done at 6:30 and at 7 o'clock for the 8 o'clock start, or did they reset and do it at 7:50 and 8:20? That, to me, is a question. If the WBGT, the wet bulb globe temperature, if the wet bulb globe temperature exceeds 90 degrees Fahrenheit, the South American Football Federation's, once again, this is from our friends at The Athletic, the South American Football Federation's medical officer will tell the fourth and the match delegate that a cooling break should be implemented. The match delegate should, in turn, inform the team responsible for broadcasting the match on television and the press. According to Law 7 of IFAB, the referee will make time allowances for medical stoppages permitted by competition rules. That's in quotes. E.g., a drinks break in the event of high temperatures. A drinks break should not exceed 1 minute. However, but a cooling break can be anything from 90 seconds to 3 minutes. According to officials at the Copa, breaks take place around the 30th and 75th. Ball has to go out of play for them to start. All players must go to their respective substitutes' bench, and after no more than 3 minutes, match will resume from the same place and situation. The time play has been suspended for the drinks break and will be added on at the end of the half by the referee. CONMEBOL has described the impact of global warming on athletes' health as a critical issue, saying rising temperatures due to climate change pose significant threats to players. Before the tournament, the organization issued guidance to help prevent exertional heat stroke in soccer. Medical screenings before the competition to identify players at risk. Recommendations: players are allowed to adapt gradually, 10 to 14 days before playing, and ensuring players are properly hydrated and have had enough sleep. We welcome Jared Smith in on a Monday. We are talking about everything Copa, CONMEBOL, heat, crowds, all of it.
Trains, prison, and getting drunk.
Yeah. Yes, it is the
So
country.
we sent all this. I took all this information from the last day and sent it to my good friend Steve Goodman, and found out that he did write the perfect country and western CONMEBOL song.
Absolutely.
And I felt obliged to include it on this here album.
Exactly.
Last verse goes something like this here.
Uh-huh. So where would you like to start, sir?
Oh my God. I'll preface all this by saying that, hey, Saturday night wasn't fun.
No.
It's gonna be that way for a bit. You've lost your playmakers and the key men who made things run for you. And you're not getting the performances out of guys that you need.
Mhm.
And I am always team #play the kids. Go cut down a switch off a tree for just $1 million. Let me go find a good tree, because we're going to take it out on Tristan and a couple others. Look, if you got veteran guys who you brought in here who don't want to do the job, I'll find some kids who will, man.
Yeah.
I'll run Jay out there. Hell, man, bring Aiden up. I'll run Jay and Aiden up out there. They
Hey.
lost. Oh, that's so different from what's currently happening. What a shock. Oh God. Oh my stars. Like, run Luke out there. As opposed to Shonda, who just decided, like, when you had one of your better chances, and Saba, who, hey, give Saba his flowers. It doesn't always come off, but never once do I watch Saba and think, man, he could have tried harder there.
Yep.
At times, I wonder if Saba should dial it back a little bit. I enjoy Saba. He is imperfect. Henry and I talked about this during the Open Cup game, that I think if you get a Big 10 and a Big 9 and somebody who is functional on the wing more than once a month on the left wing, I think if Saba is your third option and the guy who can occasionally take over a game but doesn't have to, I think he is absolutely a killer in that role. But asking him to be the guy, he can do it. Did it against Miami. He can have those games. He doesn't have them consistently, and that's okay. There's a very small percentage of people who are capable of being that guy. But, dude, yeah, just give me the kids. Oh, we're losing games? Okay, we're doing that now. We're doing that now with the guys you brought in. And to Tom's point, yeah, I don't know why some of these guys came in like gangbusters and dropped off. Tristan's best games were Mateus Asetu next to him.
And I think that was because you had a yin and yang there.
Maybe, yeah. But man, yeah, Saturday was tough to watch. I agree with all parties. That was tough to watch. You got through 45 minutes when you didn't have a shot for 45 minutes. Like, whatever, I don't care after 45 minutes. You needed to stop the bleeding, and that first 45 minutes, like, great, go find something in the second half, even if it's a dumb 0-0 draw. I go back in my head to 2018 Seattle.
Yeah.
Where, like, Seattle going into the summer window was just like anti-football. Like, they went up to New England, refused to play. They came down here, got a penalty, and then the game ended 1-1. Basically just didn't play until they could load up in the summer window. Now, because I think that's the year they got Raul Ruiz in the window.
Mm-hmm.
But you needed something positive out of it, and then you get a sloppy turnover in the middle. I think Noah Cobb put his hand up on not stepping out correctly not stepping correctly for the goal that you give up. I like Noah a lot, not just as a player, but as a leader, and I think he has that leader potential. I think Jay does too. I think Jay's just more quiet about it.
Yeah.
But son, you weren't the only one. You can put your hand up, and it's noble of you. You weren't the only one. And then Brad Guzan stood on his head and made it respectable. And you went 90 without the shot on goal, without even a shot, man. Like, that was rough.
Can we talk about Brad for a sec?
Brad's been really good. Brad goes back and forth because Brad is, 38 years old, 39?
39, I believe.
Brad's going to go back and forth, I think, between being good and really good. He doesn't have, I don't think at this point he has the same consistent peaks that he had, 6 years ago, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Whatever it might be, 7 years ago. He's not going to give you that consistent peak because he's older. He's 39 years old. But when he decides to go full David Lee Murphy and knock some dust off the bottle, buddy, Brad can still bring it. We were talking in the Discord about it, that, last year, I think a lot of the issues last year were, one, when we look at save percentage, we don't always look at quality of shots surrendered, because a lot of the goals he gave up last year, the quality of shot was cartoonish, and that was because you had a very bad backline in front of him for a large chunk of the year. They were not doing their job consistently. And when I say they were giving up looks, I mean they were giving up like 0.5 XG looks. Like at where it was like asking him to make some of these saves was grim.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you also had the number of injuries where he got cleaned out in the Red Bulls game that I think slowed him down. Brad's been fine. Like, are you looking at Josh Cohen to replace him long term? Yeah, absolutely. I think you have figured out a good game plan here. Brad this year, Josh down the road. Jaden Hibbert looks like an absolute problem in the making, and you're not really rushing to get him there, which is great. You're in a good situation with him. I know Kaylor Hodges was very complimentary of what he did in Birmingham on that short-term loan, which made sense because you wanted to get him games, and Atlanta United 2 was on a almost month-long break because the schedule makers decided to take peyote. But Hibbert was been better and has a very high ceiling, and you have time now with Josh Cohen being that next guy. You have time for Hibbert to grow into something. So that part, you're good. Yeah, Brad's been fine. Like, has he been perfect? No. There have been shots he should have saved. Every goalkeeper has those, but I think he's back to form for what you would expect. I think he's giving you expect from a 39-year-old goalkeeper, honestly. What he can still get to, he generally gets to, man. Brad is not my concern. But what is my concern is just the lack of fight sometimes, the lack of balls sometimes. I don't know if we talked about it after the. I think we did talk. Actually, I don't think we did. We didn't talk about it after the. Or at least I haven't. After the U.S. Open Cup game, there was the one sequence in my brain that just lived rent free where it was a 50-50 ball. It was the second ball off of a long ball, and there were two of them in about the span of 3 minutes. The first one, Indy 11 midfielder got to it at the same time Jay Fortune did. Neither one of them won it cleanly. It ended up bouncing away, but Jay got stuck the hell in. Like, chased it down, worked his ass off. The Indy 11 midfielder had a better shot at it. Jay just didn't let him bring it down cleanly. Ended up creating a ricochet and basically did not let them have a clean possession in that moment. A couple minutes later, same situation happens. Ball falls, just $1 million on him. Tristan doesn't get stuck in. He takes a step back to start defending. And Indy 11 player brings it down, is able to turn with possession and square up and then move forward with their lives. And man, if that didn't encapsulate it for me, what my criticism has been recently, that's where my criticism has been, is just the fight. Because, jeez, yeah, man, it's you needed more. You needed what you got at, like, we saw it at the end of the game in RSL, which I thought was stark in how just, like, you put, like, and keep picking on Tristan because he keeps giving me things to pick on about, was like the ball across the middle in RSL where he just doesn't chase it and then doesn't backtrack. Like, wow, you want to put Luke on. Is Luke going to be perfect? No, not at all. He's going to have good and bad. He's going to have some very good. He's going to have some very bad because he's a kid. But, put him out there. Let him run around. Let him work hard. Let Jay work hard. Hell, I said, let Aiden Torres come up and work hard. What are you going to miss? Are you going to stop winning games that you're not winning? Like, let me see what these kids have got.
Yep.
You got the window coming up, yeah. You're going to be linked to guys. You're going to be linked to big moves. And I know it's the idea of, do you make a move before you get a manager? I think with the money you're playing with, you're talking about bringing in guys who, like, transcend a specific style or game model. If you're spending, because here's the thing, if I'm spending $14 million, let's say, on a striker, it shouldn't have to matter which manager I bring in, as long as they can be able to command the respect of that locker room and command the respect and use that striker efficiently. Now, if I'm shopping in an aisle of I want a manager of a certain quality, then I should be able to go find a striker or find a 10 who can operate in a multitude of systems with that spending that most clubs in this league don't have. And we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. We'll see what's available in the window. We'll see we'll see what they do, man. That was very disappointing. I didn't focus on it very much because Sunday gave us 2 fun games for different reasons, and CONMEBOL just being an embarrassment, and everybody deciding it was the United States' fault because they decided to take 2 parts of Marcelo Bielsa quote out. And,
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, we went into the layout of what happened last night, and I would also recommend, just for first-person accounts of it, Stu Holden's wife, Carolyn, posted a thread about trying to get into Hard Rock, and I would recommend adding that to your reading. This will be your required reading of the day. Go to @CarolynWest on the 280-character app, as she was trying to get in with the masses, and she has an 11-piece thread on trying to get into the building. And so, yeah. And so that's what you were getting. That's what you're getting into. But the other point that I was, yeah, well, that was the other part that I was going to get into that I got into this morning is, what do you think the conversations have been like between Stephen Ross and CONMEBOL this morning?
Stephen Ross, for those of you who don't know, for sure he owns the Orange Bowl outright, or Hard Rock Stadium. Excuse me. We get stabbed by somebody representing Stephen Ross now. Stephen Ross suing CONMEBOL is going to be a court case worth watching for all involved. That'll be amazing. Yeah, it's just the stuff that came out last night. I know people initially were. It was very easy for Euro snobs and CONMEBOL snobs to do this country isn't ready to host the World Cup. Oh, we did it before. We hosted the Centenario. Like, we did things before. And then as more information comes out, like, oh, what's that? Like, U.S. Soccer and people reached out to CONMEBOL to offer help and offer more resources and offer to help do things and make it more successful. And CONMEBOL said no. What a shock. You mean to tell me? Make sure I'm sitting down for this. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. Are you sitting down?
You mean to tell me that a federation is full of corrupt people? Well, knock my ass down with a feather.
And smack my ass and call me Judy. Exactly.
Because, yes, they're not going to take the hub because they're going to pocket the money. Because every federation like that. CONCACAF, CONMEBOL, UEFA, AFCON, Asian Confederation, like, they're all going to try and pocket as much money as humanly possible. Stuff like this happens. It's easy for them to go, hey, Miami screwed up, guys. But it's never that simple. Simple answers are annoying, but people like them because they are convenient.
Yeah. That's true. That is absolutely
so, anyway,
yes.
That was dumb. It was hilarious. We were deprived of another shootout with Emi Martinez, which is a shame. We were not deprived, however, of Chiellini absolutely firing off from the hip on the English, and the English going home sad, and Harry Kane, as Jason put it, it's just sad at this point, man.
Yeah.
Like, Harry Kane literally, he can't even chase trophies correctly.
No.
My favorite thing was that, like, I think it was Georgia generated a higher. No, who was it? Like, was it Croatia or somebody who went out in the group stage generated a higher XG through the whole tournament than England did. I think Georgia led for more minutes than England did in this tournament.
Sounds about right.
Like, and it's weird because, like, I want to see if they fire Garrett Southgate.
Not yet. We haven't seen that yet.
Yeah. Because I don't know if he gets better.
Yeah.
If you do that. Oh, God. We'll see.
So you want to talk about the twos?
I mean, we can. Like, you know what I do want to talk about, actually? And this will just take, like, 45 seconds. Because I know a lot of y'all weren't able to watch it. I was the one keeping up with it last night. UPSL.
Sure.
UPSL playoffs are going on. Kalanji Pro Profile won the Georgia UPSL. Soda City finished third in North Carolina.
True.
Soda City came to represent North Carolina because Charlotte FC, the MLS club, also fields a UPSL club. Usually, and Atlanta United does too. These are like 17, 18, 19-year-old kids. A lot of them like right before they're going to college. That's generally it's your academy team playing in UPSL. John, I think you've done games with them too.
Yes.
So like Matthew DeJaney, those kind of guys. Like I think DeJaney was the Gold Boot winner last year. Charlotte FC has a team. They won North Carolina. They chose not to travel their team for the UPSL playoffs. I don't know why. I haven't really gotten an answer to that. I'd love to find out why. I need to reach out and see what's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
But Charlotte FC, MLS club, owned by one of the richest owners in the sport,
yes,
did not want to travel their team one state over the playoff.
Yeah.
Second place team also did not. Now they are not funded by an MLS team. I don't know what their financial situation is like. So they took the third place team, which is Soda City. Soda City beat KSA 4-2 yesterday. Conjure Pro Profile blew a 2-0 lead. Gave up the second goal with pretty much the last kick of the game. Like, it was an open net. I think Henry Paites was hurt, who's the goalkeeper for KSA.
Right.
But open, like, ball going into the net, like, a defender did a Luis Suarez, kind of. It wasn't as blatant as Suarez, where he just handballed it out, but he, like, slid and threw his arm up and the ball hit his arm. They put the penalty away. Goes to extra time. KSA was out of gas. They had made all their subs and they couldn't turn the engine back over. Soda City won. So very, like, humorous kind of crazy lower level thing was the top team in Georgia lost to the third place team in North Carolina because the first two teams in North Carolina did not or could not send their teams to the UPSL playoffs. So now Soda City, who lost in the semifinal, has made it through to the next round. And, beautiful. As far as the twos, as far as the twos go, that was it would have been nice to close out all 3 points. I'm gonna nitpick. Like, it's great that you got the 2 points in the shootout. Jaden Hibbert made 2 saves. You had a 2-1 lead in the 85th minute. You have to see that out. You have to.
Mm-hmm.
As we're talking about developing guys, and so many of these kids have come up to the first team, and obviously the Atlanta United 2's record, not great. Has not been since their existence, but that's one of those developmental things. You have to see those games out. Jaden Hibbert, great. Matias Gajardo, great. I am actively begging people to put more respect on Matias's name, and then specifically his first name.
Yeah.
I understand he is the son of a great coach and a son that a lot of people want to run this club, and I get there's jokes. He is more than his last name, though. The kid's trying to make a name for himself and trying to make a player out of himself. He's taking steps in the right direction. Had a great goal last night. He's played his ass off. Matias Gajardo has been really good. He might be criminally insane in the things he tries to do on the ball. He tries to do crazy things that you need a kid like that to do.
Yeah.
I'm begging people to give him the time of day for something other than his last name.
Yeah.
It's tough, man. Like, you're the son, like, we see this with, like, the Berhalters and the Klinsmans of the world. When you're the son of somebody significant, it can be tough, man. But, yeah, like, appreciating for being the guy you needed last night to not going to go Golazo. Don't make it just about his last name. And then Dominic Chunkwe is
DCQ, baby.
DCQ is the next left back that you need to be watching.
We're at left back you and everybody else, and center back you and everybody else just needs to know.
Basically, DCQ's got 2 goals in 2 games. It's really good again last night. He's been training with the first team all season. Physically, man, he's there. There's other parts of his game that have to catch up. That's fine. Physically, he's there. Like I said, it's great you got 2 points. You should have gotten 3. You gotta see that game out. But glad they managed to get the 2 out of it. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Anyway. Now we get a finalissimo.
Yeah.
Spain and Argentina, which is funny because, like, I think it was Will Parchment said last night, that Spain run from 08 to 12, and now this Argentina run are two of the most impressive we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And now we also wait to see if Messi's ankle is still in one piece, because that thing looks like a boxer's ear.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. I said it looked like a donut weight that you put around a baseball bat.
Yeah. God, guys don't even use those anymore, I don't think.
I know, but still.
At least, like, I remember there was one at one point in my childhood, like, they, instead of using that, they had, like, a counterweight. Like, it was this very heavy piece of metal counterweight that you would put on the knob of your bat, and it had two cables, and the cables would wrap around the knob, and you would tighten it down, and that's what you would use. And it was supposed to, like, while you waited the bat getting ready to actually go hit, it didn't put so much weight on the end, so it didn't create a dip in your swing where your back leg would collapse or your bat would dip. I just remember people using those at one point. I don't know that they ever stuck, and I don't know. Everyone's always trying to come up with new ways to reinvent the wheel.
Yes.
Hell, there's like a bunch of players. I don't know if they still use them. I think Bryce Harper was one. They used axe handle bats for a while.
Yeah.
Where instead of the knob, the bat's handle was crafted like an axe handle.
Yeah, wouldn't Mookie Betts try the axe handle bat?
I think so. A number of guys did. It was supposed to just be a more natural grip, but the thing is, with the wooden bat, you have to hold and use it a certain way so that you're hitting with the grain correctly. Otherwise, it will shatter. And I'm here to tell you, a wooden bat shattering really, really hurts your hand. Yeah. It stings and it vibrates.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm right there with you. That sting and vibrate the bumblebees through your hands. That is never a good thing.
Yeah, man, that was. They're always trying to reinvent the wheel with all the stuff like that. And I'm sure they'll try and reinvent it. Baseball, it's easy to do because there's so many gadgets involved. There's so many implements in a baseball game versus a soccer game. Like, you can try and come up with new things. I know they've modernized, like, goalie gloves that fit to the hand better and have, like, a guard down the wrist. But there's so many implements in baseball, you can get really weird and get, like, completely out of pocket with ideas.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, boy. Okay, so.
That's, God, it's 11:08.
Yeah. Friendlies today. There's 2 right now on the plus. West Ham's playing Ferencvaros, and Sevilla's playing Orlando Pirates at 3 on Paramount Plus. Argentine Primera is at 6, River Plate and Estudiantes. And, Jared, I did mention that you were looking for not quite the full $11 million involving Ezequiel Barco. You wanted a player and less money because of what's going on geopolitically.
If River wants to send Borja up here, like, Borja tried to break a man's sternum last night at the end of that match.
That is true.
I need that energy in my day. If they want to send a Colombian striker up this way, I don't know, go for it. I think it's only like, well, here's the thing. I think it's only like $2 or $3 million that Atlanta would be getting on the sell-on. Like, it's not like a life-changing amount. It's a nice amount. You're not going to turn it down. But yeah, if you get weird with the money, just go to River and be like, hey, listen, this money's coming from Russia. There's geopolitical circumstances here that we have to account for.
Yeah.
It's going to be kind of weird. What if you just, like,
player.
Let's check your roster. Is there anyone that we really like here and we can just call it even? Or we can just call it a discount. Whereas, like, you owe us $2 million. That player's worth $6 million. How about we give you $4 million and we call it a day?
Yeah.
When you just call it credit, we just consider it like having credit on your account. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. There's geopolitical implications there that you have to consider, but Barco technically did make it to Europe finally.
Yeah.
And he was really good at River.
Eastern Europe, allegedly, possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
Gossip before we go. Mark Gahey wanted by Liverpool have begun negotiations to sign him. Fabrizio Romano. England midfielder Adam Wharton is going to turn down interest from City. Bayern Munich and Real Madrid to stay at Crystal Palace. 3-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Arsenal have reached an agreement to sign England Youth International keeper Tommy Setford from Ajax. Wolves leading the race to sign Sheffield United £20 million rated defender Anil Ahmedhodzic to replace Max Kilman, who joined West Ham. 3-letter paper. Arsenal favorites to beat Villa in the race to sign Real Sociedad midfielder Mikel Merino this summer. City is also going to hold talks with Julian Alvarez. PSG are interested. Alvarez wants more playing time. City want to keep him. That's from Fabrizio Romano. City also plan to sign Spain and RB Leipzig midfielder Dani Olmo by triggering a £50 million release clause in his deal. That's from Gianluca Di Marzio. Keep an eye on Di Marzio, who is a Tier 1 source to everything in Italian soccer about any information involving possible attacking midfielders coming from Atalanta to Atlanta. Manchester United set to sign Norway striker Elizabeth Terlin from Brighton on the women's side. Poland defender Jakub Kiwior allowed to leave Arsenal this summer, attracting interest from Serie A. Liverpool have made Sporting Lisbon Portugal defender Gonçalo Inácio a priority transfer target. Juve keen on Atalanta's Teun Koopmeiners, who's also been linked with Liverpool. That's from Rudy Galletti. Any other thoughts before we get out of here?
Oh, God. Michael might go to Celtic because Celtic loves old goalkeepers.
There's that. Saw that.
Hey, man, Joe Hart, God bless Joe Hart, dude. He went there, was not the arrogant psychopath that I thought he would be when he went there. Just slid right in to the roster and spoke so highly about, hey, man, I'm just here to have a good time. And won some trophies and has now retired, and now Schmeichel's next up, I guess, on the totem pole. Celtics just going to get all the old goalkeepers. Hell, now we just have to figure out which one they get next.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
anyway,
exactly. Yes. Back at it again tomorrow in a little less than 22. We got lower division championships and playoffs and everything that's going to be going on all week. Here's the traffic for the week as best I can recall. It is Tuesday. We're going to be trying to get into the lower divisions. Wednesday, Tyler joins us at 9. We'll see on a match day if Jason can join us at 10:30. See if the busiest man in the Northeast, Dylan Butler, can do the same. Thursday, we've got some open space in hour number 1 to talk about what happened on Wednesday. Nino and Nico are going to be here in hour number 2. Nino Torres talking about the Copa and everything else attached. And got to watch his call of Danubio and Nacional on Gold TV in a 6-0 craziness. And we'll talk to him about that. Nico Moreno joining us at 10:30. Friday, obviously, it's weekend whip around. It is hopefully our friends from Beyond Goals, everything else getting us ready for the matchup against Columbus. And so that's the week. And like I said, lower division stuff, we'll sit there and we'll get it all figured out. So, Jarrett, since you are here with us, go ahead and send us home.
Mucho platio.
Cover screen, whistle to go.